CMPRadio.net, it's the station. Listen, man, let's cultivate together. Bring us all your show ideas. Content creators, we're looking for that. Videographers, we're looking for that. You can be a part of the next great big thing that takes place right here in Chester, Pennsylvania. Let's cultivate together, man. Welcome to the show. This is Culture Uncut. You know what we do here, man. I got my brothers in the building. But first, I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, Reworld, KC Electric. And you already know this is the home, CMPRadio.net. This is another episode of Culture Uncut. And today we will be talking about Chiefs and Indians. Chiefs and Indians. What makes a chief in our community? What makes an Indian in our community? And can you be both? I think you can. I think you really, truly can and should be. What does it look like to be a chief in today's time, in today's generation? What does it look like to be an Indian? We're going to break it down. The brothers are going to talk about it. And we want your opinions too, right? This is CMPRadio.net, and right now this is Culture Uncut. Let's get started. Good brothers, how y'all feeling?
My dear brother, doing well, man.
I'm doing good, man. It's another week. Like this is week what, 4 or 5 for us?
Yeah, week 5. Week 5 Culture Uncut, right?
Yeah.
We've been consistent. We ain't cutting off. We ain't yelling. We ain't running. You feel me? Like,
We're here, 10 toes down, and that's the way I like it.
Yeah. Let's go. So what's been going on with you, Drew? Let's talk to Drew, right? What's going on with you in the world? How you feeling? And what's going on?
So listen, I feel good. I've been paying attention to the current events, that's my twist. And I've been watching, and that's another topic for another show. But I've been being a chief inside of my own little world, right? Making sure that the things that I can absolutely control, the things that are tangible within my reach, right, that I've been focused on. And that's really what I've been putting my energy into. Because otherwise, man, it'll drive me crazy trying to be concerned about the, let's say, goings on of the world. So that's really what I've been up to, man. My children, we alternate weeks. They with their mom 1 week, they with me this week. So that's really what I've been doing, man. Glorify Uber and studying. So that's what my week has been like. How about yours?
My week has been good, man. Last Saturday went to New York. It just felt funny being up there, man. Like, I'm thinking about, that might be a relocation site for me. You feel me? Just to get away. But it was good. It was good to be up there. It was good to be up there with family and see the sights, man. I went into Harlem, got me a chopped cheese. You feel me? You know what I mean? B, you feel me? Took my son with me. We had fun, man. We had a couple minutes to sit and just bond and just talk. And I like those.
You was up there?
You say what?
Y'all hit Central Park while you were in Harlem?
No, I don't do Central Park. Central Park is another, area that's off limits for me because I understand, who once inhabited Central Park and how they broke that
village.
Right. So, I don't like to go through the new areas that they. Anyway, we're not going to talk about that because you're going to get me started, and I'm not trying to go down that rabbit hole. So it was good. It was good for me. Nas, how was yours?
I had a good week, man. It's funny that the topic today is Chiefs and Indians because in my current role, I have to be comfortable being an Indian so that I can be the chief that the organization needs.
Yes.
So I've done a lot of roles in the last 2 weeks at my new job that typically is not something under my purview.
Right.
But it's humbling. It takes me back to my roots. My first jobs ever, cutting grass and being a janitor and things of that nature. And so, being an Indian versus being a chief and knowing that in order to be a white collar leader, leading blue collar laborers, you have to know how and what it means to do their job. And so I've been getting humbled for the past 2 weeks.
Well, I can tell you this, it's been my experience. You know, I started out in the game, we all did, in the blue collar. And one thing I learned fast, man, my first flat out blue collar leadership role, I was at UPS. And you know, UPS, they promote you to supervisor. They see you got an inkling of intelligence and motivation, they be getting you up there because they want somebody to lead that organization. And I got my first crew, man. I was 18 years old. I had about 7 old heads. Shout out to Mr. Chris, man, who helps out with Biddy on 24th Street. He was one of the guys on my crew when I first started working there. And man, if it wasn't for them old heads giving me the game, bro, I would have crashed and burned. But what I did learn was if you were willing to humble yourself and work shoulder to shoulder, man, they got a tremendous amount of respect. And I gained, again, tremendous amounts of respect. And I learned lessons that I carry to this day, man, to this day. So you doing the right thing. And when you was talking, you said that you had to be an Indian so that you could effectively be that chief. And that excited me, man. That gave me like a little joke. Cause that's really it, bro. Like that's really it. And to be on par with the topic, so P asked earlier, he said, what does it take to be a chief in the world today? And I really want to talk about that. I want to say, so my cut is, I feel like it's hard, man, because we live in a day now where social media has glamorized this title of CEO. And first of all, if you a chief executive, you got to have other executives under you to be the chief executive. But it be people in like they a sole proprietor. It's one person in their company and they CEOs. Everybody want the glitz and the glamour and the title of it, right? So I think that it's really, really hard to be a chief in today's time because everybody want to be a chief, not understanding that to be a chief, you got to work your way up and earn that position. Because if you just get it just off the rip, it's easily taken. As easy as it comes, it's as easy as you lose it.
And you won't respect it.
And you won't respect it, and your people
underneath you won't respect you.
Won't respect you either. So shout out to what you're doing, man, because you're showing everybody in that organization that you're not afraid of
the hard work
side with them. And also, it's worth saying that once I know what it takes, how much time it takes to do A, B, C, and D, now will Hope say you can't sell me bullshit? I know the prices.
Right.
Hey, that's the pressure right there. That's the pressure. Because you can't sell me what they call them wolf tickets. Like, come on, bro.
Right.
I've been here. I've done that.
Right.
No, that's real.
I understood starting a radio station that I was not yet a chief. So I reached out to some people to help me start the radio station, right? I reached out to somebody that had years in business, right? So listen, man, you the CEO. You do what you do. I'm the chief operating officer. I understand how things should operate, not really understand how things are run on a macro level, right? I don't have the skills to be the puppeteer, right? But I do have the skills to bring the people in, right? So you could be the puppeteer, right? I had the vision, right? That's something that I think a chief should have. But I didn't have the decision making, right? I didn't understand, where and how and to put things. So I didn't want that. I didn't want that role. I still don't want it, right? I still don't want to be, right? I would love to be able to be in a position where, there's somebody over top of me, right? But, things don't work out that way. So for me, I have to be a chief, not because I want to be, but because there's no one else to be here to do it. So I have to learn, right? And for anyone that's growing with me, you got to understand, like, there's going to be mistakes. I'm going to mess up. I'm not going to be able to do everything the right way because it's the first time doing everything. So am I a chief? Yes, but I am more of an Indian because when I leave outside the door, I join up with another group. I'm an Indian in that one, right? I join up with another group. I'm an Indian in that one as well, right? So I don't have a problem with being either or. In my situation, in this station, I am the chief, right? But I do listen to y'all because I see y'all as the elders that are around me, the brothers that have the knowledge to move me forward, the brothers that understand what it takes, you know, to want more, right? With less.
Yeah.
You feel me? So, you know, I respect y'all 100%, and I see what it takes to be a true chief is respect and understanding, um, strategy, courage, right? These are the things that you need, bro. Like accountability,
Mm.
right? But I also have a service mindset, so I'm like, yo, I can do this, right? I always ask people, how can I help? How can I help you?
Yeah.
Right? How can I help you be better? Every time a new podcast comes up, how I know you want your podcast to be here, but how can I help you? Right? Because you're helping me. Let's figure out what you really want. Right? So
Nah, for sure. And you know I can vouch for that. Because you know, back long time ago, long time ago, right?
right,
When we still had the Keys to Success podcast back when it was early on
right,
and we were still out in Upland. I knew nothing about podcasting.
right,
And I can vouch for this single-handedly, bro. You coaching us afterwards, sitting down, giving us feedback on what we should do, what we shouldn't do, how this helps. You taught me this game, bro.
right.
Like, you know, not to say that I didn't know how to speak. I've been an orator probably my whole life. I remember being in like third grade, being in that. But the game of podcasting is different. It is.
Yes, it is.
And you have always been there through and through, man, developing, nurturing the talent, and I appreciate that. And now you working with the children and bringing that on as well, man, giving a voice to the unvoiced. So now I can vouch for that.
I appreciate that. Definitely appreciate that.
For sure.
And I was trying to take notes while y'all was talking so I can remember where I wanted to chime in at. You know what I mean?
Cut me off. Don't
No,
go back.
you're good. You're good. While you cooking, I'm gonna let you cook. But I was thinking while y'all were talking, what is like a distinguishing characteristic of a chief? And the first thing that kind of resonated in my mind is, in order to be a chief, it also means that there's Indians willing to follow you, right? And like it's one thing to say you're in charge or want a title or even have a title. It's a whole other thing when people want to follow you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's something that I had to learn in the military. Just coming in as a lieutenant, you have a rank, but it doesn't necessarily mean people want to listen to you. And so how do you get people to listen to you? It was the ultimate question that I was faced with at a pretty early age. And I think the one thing that kind of, I guess, put me into a good sound position in my leadership role was being willing to say I don't know, but not settling with the answer I don't know, right? Because it's one thing to not know, right? But then you can just not go get the answer. If I say I don't know, that also means give me some time, I will get the right answer.
Absolutely.
I think that's something that, as a chief, the Indians that will decide to follow you appreciate and admonish.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I got a lot of different experiences, good and bad, with learning leadership. I will say that because early on I was put in that position where I had to be a supervisor of men. Every single person on that crew was old enough to be my father, right? And I'm 18, bro, and just as brand new as ever, brand spanking new. I ain't been in the company 10 weeks yet, right? And now I got an aircraft that I'm responsible for loading. So I definitely took the role of servant leader as my foundation. But what I didn't know, what I would later on learn is that's really the path, right? So I want to take a story that I learned. So I was, a lot of my stuff come to me. I told y'all last week, education by defecation. I
need to drink more water then, because I don't know. You read books while you're on the toilet?
Huh?
You reading books while you on the toilet? That's what you're saying?
No, not so much reading books, but when I'm there, it's like quiet time.
Okay.
Right? Like I don't. Sometimes I might scroll, but very often I'm going in there and I'm sitting down, and it's an unplug, right? Now, when I meditate in the morning, that's my time with God. I'm praying, I'm thankful, I'm making a foundation, but I'm not really necessarily quiet except for the meditative part of it. But then when I'm in the midst of throughout the day, when I'm moving around, when these things come to me, I'm active, right? You know, I just came in from whatever's going on, and it's like one of them pauses. And you know, when your brain is active, that's when it's really flowing.
Right.
And so I was sitting there thinking, and God told me, He said, go read the Bible and digest about washing feet. And I was like, what? I said, what you talking about, God? Washing feet? Like, where did this come from?
Hey, you cooking right now. Listen, wash the feet, big dog. Hey, go ahead and cook real quick.
Bro, the level of humility that you display, right? It's transformational as far as when you looking to change hearts and minds, right? And Yeshua was intentional about making sure that, listen, before we have this conversation, before we have this engagement, me being who I am, I'm going to pull myself from this high horse that we spoke about, how where people come with these ideas of being a CEO. And he said that I'm going to invest in you. And I did a little bit more research. And, you know, back during that time, they didn't have closed toe shoes, right? So
There you go.
the importance of taking care of your feet, it was not just a position where he said, okay, I'm going to make myself in a position to be a subservient in humility, but also I'm going to invest in you. I'm going to take my time and show you that I care about you, right? I care about your journey. I care about your walk. And man, when I started praying on that, I said, all right, God, I get it. Because this was during a time where, P, you will remember this, Nas, you wouldn't. I was going through a transition where I had these political aspirations, and I thought that I wanted to be an elected official, and I was in that process, but I was also learning myself and finding myself. And I said, well, God, what do I need to do to connect with people? And not even realizing this vision or this idea that God put in me to go read about washing people's feet and who in the Bible did it and why they did it. It changed my mind on how I viewed servant leadership. Because it used to be, I viewed it from a perspective of, like, you know, a means to an end, right? Which is transactional. And the teachings of Yeshua is not transactional. It's
At all.
It's all about relational. And that shift became inside of me when I realized, like, damn, I'm viewing this whole perspective wrong. It ain't about transactional. It's not about how I can make this work, but it's real life about how I can work for you, because ultimately that's going to be the change and the transformation. And then now I was able to connect that with my teachings in my MBA program about transformational leadership. And I tell you now, the transformation come inside of you and your heart first, right? Because when you transform your heart to the point where you comfortable with serving, you comfortable with investing in your people, and not just that, but I'm gonna make intentional actions, and I say that in this, like, intentional actions to serve in a way that's gonna connect, and that is what I believe is real, true leadership.
Powerful. Hey, once you said wash the feet, well, I was like, hey, go ahead and cook for a second so I can sit back and listen. Listen, I already knew where you was going with that one. So that is a whole nother level of humility, servitude, and really understanding what it means to be a leader, right? Because washing feet, Like people don't like touching feet in 2026, and you got closed-toed J's on.
Right.
We talking about biblical feet, right?
Right.
Like,
Way down in the jungle deep.
yo, man, like that is powerful, and not even just thinking about, you know, Yahshua and washing Jesus's feet, but just the idea of washing your own parental guardian's feet in that time frame, like that was a sign of endearment and respect, right? Like, I appreciate the things you do with these feet. You walk this earth every day trying to provide, and when you think about Jesus, it's like his whole life was a walk, was a journey to lead others, right? Like, oh man, don't he was cooking, bro. He was cooking.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you cooking.
But yeah, man, I think this chief and Indian discussion is powerful, and I think trying to get people to understand what it means to really step into the role of being a chief while also being an Indian, because like P, you were alluding to it earlier, in certain circles you are a chief, but in other circles you are an Indian. Right. And I think one of the most balancing, because balance is another part of this, right? Absolutely. But one of the most balancing things of being a chief is knowing when to take charge and knowing when to guide, or at least funnel. And right. That bleeds back into the household. We talked about Jesus and being the King of Kings, Lord of Lords. We got to talk about the household with a father being a father. Right? Like, and that, if I'm being honest, I think, and it's not a black thing. I think America, society, fathers don't know how to be fathers anymore. And that's not a race. That is across every racial demographic. Fathers don't know how to be fathers.
Go a little deeper with that. Fathers don't know how to be fathers, and go a little deeper with what a father is and what a father is not, right? Because if you're talking about people don't know how to be fathers anymore, we need to explain what you're talking about when you say that.
Yeah, so I think being a father is multifaceted, right? Like you have to know when to be stern, you have to know when to be soft, and in today's society, depending on the culture, soft isn't an option. Right. But I can't be the father that I need to be if I'm not willing to give compassion to my child. Right. If I'm not willing to sacrifice, no different than Jesus. Right. Like, can I embody agape love for my child? Right. Because he did it for us.
Right.
And I think the challenging part is that most men can display some degree of grit. They can display attitude. They can display some degree of sternness, even though it typically comes off as like angry. But like, how do you funnel your child to do what you need them to do and grow up to be something productive? Like the other day, my son came up to me with his remote control car. This is something small, right? And he couldn't get it to work. He was like, Dad, can you fix this? And I was like, no, I can't. We can troubleshoot it. You can give me some recommendations and I can help you through it, but I can't solve it for you. Even though I knew he needed batteries in the remote, right? Right. It's pretty obvious diagnosed, right? It was done. Right. But I can't just fix everything for him. And he's at the age now where that degree of problem set is something that's challenging for him. So I have to see him through that process. Right. And encourage him to do it on his own. And once he gets the green light and the light bulb to fix it, now we can funnel that into bigger projects. So like right now, I think I got Jeremy on like his 20th Lego set. And he's moving up to like 800-piece Legos now. Right. And he does it by himself. Right. And so the next goal is to get him to start doing like Connect Fours, where like you make it mechanical things, right? Like a roller coaster or something that moves on its own. But and that's just one example, but there's a multitude.
That's a great example. That's a great example because you are doing what you're supposed to teach your children. 1 through 7 is the age of teaching. They are like sponges. They absorb everything. For a father to give his son his knowledge and what he has in front of him and what he has to deal with, That's what you're supposed to do 1 through 7. 7 through 14, they break it down into 7 years. 7 through 14, now they're using what you taught them and using what you showed them to go out there and apply it to the world a little bit, right? Not a lot, just a little bit, but you still standing by them. 14 to 21, then they go out into the world without you being over top of them, and now they're understanding how things work in their mind, right? So we have to teach our sons, show our sons, love our sons, show them compassion when they mess up, right? But also understand that you got to fix this, that you messed it up. You broke it, so you got to fix it, right? And I think if we start doing that as Black men, as men throughout whatever skin color you are, whatever nationality you want to claim, we start doing that, we'll see our men in our community grow up a little bit better, right? I get it, right? I feel like we're dealing with a system that wanted to take us out of the picture, right? Because they saw how strong and how unified we were.
Right.
In a couple of years, they'll have this whole damn country. So we need to throw them in jail and give them this and give them that, and let's put the liquor stores in the community. Let's put the drugs in the community, the gun stores in the community. Let's throw all these distractions at them, and then we'll lift the women up, and then they'll fight between each other, and they'll never get right.
Right.
So now I say, listen, we don't have to fight. I don't want to fight with any of the women that I share children with. I'm just trying to help my kids understand what they need to do to move forward. If you don't think my children love me, then you've never seen my children around me.
Right.
So what are we talking about? Do I love them? Absolutely. Do I want them to do and have and be more than me? Yes. Yes. So you got to give me that opportunity to show them, right? Stop. We ain't doing all the fussing and fighting. But I get why it happens, and I get why a lot of young men, because my father died when I was 12. I had a father through 12 years. He did he did the first 7, and he did 5 of the next 7. Then he wasn't here anymore. There was nobody here to stand at the door and say, no, go in the house and study. No, clean up your room. No, get that done. No, what you do on that chemistry set? What was the reaction? I loved chemistry when I was younger. I was just thinking about that in the school. I was in the school today. They was like, what was your favorite subject in school? I was like, chemistry. I just love to see how things interacted with each other and make things blow up. We would go out back, and my dad would give me this, and he was like, well, add this with that, add a little bit of that, and it'll blow up. Wow. We was doing Mentos before anybody even knew that Mentos could do that, before it was a big thing. Like, oh, man, that's amazing, right? When you lose that, you lose everything, because there was nobody there keeping time, right? There was nobody there to tell me what I was supposed to do. So I ran outside. I went crazy. So now I'm like, I'm still 12. I'm still a little kid, because I grew up in action, not in words, right? And a lot of us understand that, and some people won't. In action, I grew up, but I didn't understand the mistakes I was making, right? I didn't understand what I was jeopardizing by making these mistakes. We talked about this last week with the drug dealing. You feel me?
Yeah.
You was like, oh, it was quick. You feel me? You made the money. But I was like, no, I made a lot of mistakes. I lost a lot. Before I got to make money, bro, I lost a lot. I lost a lot of friends. I lost a lot of respect. I lost a lot of people, right? I lost a lot before the money started to really come in. But I had to learn that I was throwing away education for money. What was I putting first, right? And I wasn't living correctly. So yes, our men need to be in our community, and I think the best way to do it is just to talk to them and find them as chiefs of their house. That's the first place you're a chief, is in your house.
Can I add something to what you
Go
just
ahead.
said?
Go ahead.
So I can tell I'm getting old, because while you were talking, it made me think about a podcast, or a morning show rather. And it's Steve Harvey. And like that's like a part of my routine, man. Like
Every
I'm
morning.
going to listen to Steve Harvey. I'm going to listen to Morning Brew, like just, but anyway, one of the topics Steve Harvey was talking about, it wasn't on his morning show, but I think he was doing an interview with somebody, and I can't remember who it was. But he was like, something that changed his life was when his dad passed away, because he knew from that point on, no one was going to be excited about his successes anymore.
Nobody.
At least not to the degree of his dad. Right? Like your dad is your champion, right? He is the person as a male that is always trying to guide you in the right direction. Always. And even if it means at his own detriment. And that's no dig against mom, right? Mom out here grinding, mom doing her thing, but it's a different type of leadership model from a male to his child versus a female to her child.
Yes.
And when Steve Harvey said that, man, it was impactful. I actually stopped for a second what I was doing and called my pops just to say what up.
I wish.
That.
Yeah.
I wish.
Yeah, so I would say that first of all, life taught me that exactly what y'all are saying is very, very true. So, I adore my mother, right? But what I know now is my mom prepared me, or better yet, my mom raised me in such of a manner to where what she thought was best, she did, right? She was like, all right, I'm going to make sure you got this. I'm going to tell you that you need to do this. But the reality is my mom didn't really know how to physically carry out what I needed as a man or as a boy to become a man, right? I needed that structure. I craved it.
Mm-hmm.
Reason why I went into ROTC in high school. But I also didn't understand how much structure and discipline I was lacking because I didn't really have it. My mom always told me, yo, boy, you better graduate. But she wasn't really like, yo, get your ass up. You going to school. You not staying in this house. Right. So when I'm hearing y'all talk about this, it for sure is a difference because now when I see how I raise my children, my thought and my mindset has been ever since that they were born. I got to make sure that my children can survive in this world and when I'm gone. Right. And I did a podcast with Donna, Parenting with a Purpose.
Yes.
Shout out to her, man. Shout out to her for doing that. The sisters always be holding us down.
Definitely.
During that podcast, an analogy came to my mind where as parent or as fathers, right, we got to be like the wind. And the way it came together was, so I during COVID, I learned how to grow vegetation. And I realized that some of the processes that were very important was that you got to kind of mimic the outside, right? So you got to grow light, that's the sun, but you need to put fans in there because you need to keep the wind moving. And the reason why it's very important to keep the wind moving, one is to manage humidity, but two, and which is the most important one, that plant got to move. And as it moves, there's like little follicles inside that get broken and they heal back up into a form of a trunk. The wind is what makes the plant strong enough to stand on its own. As fathers, it's our job for children to be that wind.
Yeah.
That friction. Go ahead, man.
Right? And see, my mom didn't.
No.
She didn't blow me enough.
She
right?
Yeah.
But when I went in the Marine Corps, I'm like, And listen, I thank God for that experience because I needed that win because it made my tree trunk strong to where I could stand up on my own. And it gave me the endurance or the weathering to be able to weather the storm of life. And now I find myself when I'm having conversations with my mother or with my children's mother or with my lady, I find myself in that same position thinking like, all right, you got to make sure that you are facilitating the wind. And I want to sidebar because I say this all the time. Both perspectives are necessary and right. There is moms are not wrong in making sure to nurture their children.
No.
And I scathe, I think that's the right word. Any dude that's like, no, they don't need it. Don't let that boy cry. That is a damn lie. We absolutely need just as much emotional intelligence as we need physical endurance. So the Most High knew exactly what the Most High was doing when we got two parents, right? Because that we talk about that balance that you spoke about earlier, my brother Nas. we only get the right balance when we are cultivated with the proper amount of wind, but also nurtured with the right amount of care. Because just like I had to put the fan on that plant to be able to grow, I also had to make sure that it had the right nutrients in the water. If I had too much nutrients, I was burning the plant. If I didn't have enough, I was starving the plant. If I didn't create the right conditions, that seed would not be able to crack and grow up. All things play in to make us what we need to be. So bringing it back home to the point now, I think that in order to be able to be really a chief, you got to go through that cultivation process. And that cultivation process begins with being that Indian, right? One can never be a chief until you learn the aspects of being an Indian, right? And that's where it becomes real balance. I read a book called The Prince by Machiavelli. And they spoke about how, well, he spoke about how when you capture, and they called it principalities, hence the prince, the leader of it. When you capture principalities can be given to you because you bought it with your money, or you can be like our brother Ibrahim Traore that work yourself up through the ranks as a general, right? You earn the respect, and then you have the ability to where when you earn that principality, it's yours and it's cemented, not easily taken. And in the book, they evaluate all different ways in which you come into power and which you come into leadership. And basically, the ways that don't include you working your way up and learning that process, as fast as you get it, you lose it just as fast, if not faster, because it ain't really yours. You a paper leader, right? And I think that this still plays in, man. Like I thank God for the father that I am. But I know for sure that the reason why I learned it is because I made every single mistake. I was a fatherless child. I am a fatherless man. But through trial and error, thank God, and consistent studying and getting in my word, and most importantly, surrounding myself by examples of men that I wanted to be.
Come on.
Or at least be like. In the Marine Corps, I was able to find great examples of what to be and what not to be. And then when I got out, I watched my father, who I call, this is my father for every intent and purpose. He's not my biological father, but Willie Tate, that's my father, right? And I watched him with his same servant leadership. He'd get up, he make my mom coffee. When every weekend that they having something, he inviting us over to the house. And he cooking for us, he cleaning up after us, right? And I'm seeing all of this stuff that traditionally I was unlearned, that stuff that I had to unlearn. I was taught, oh, this not men roles, right? And the fallacy, right, that I was under, because I believed the nonsense, right? So I'm thinking, oh, I don't got to do that. I don't need to do that. But then as a grown ass man, I watched my father operate in life, and I said, damn, that's a man, right? So sucking that knowledge up from him and surrounding myself by people, I was able to learn and unlearn these bad behaviors that I had. And what I found now is because I was led by emotion. I was hurt, right? You was hurt when you was 12 years old when your father left you. I was hurt when I was 11 years old and I found out that not only was my father, who I thought was my father, wasn't my father, but my biological father ain't really want nothing to do with me, right? So that hurt and that pain, I carried it with me, and it really drove so many of my actions and decision making. And but I got to be thankful for it, because again, it's those decisions that I made in pain that resulted in the failures that real life taught me. And now, as I stand as a man today, because I made every mistake, you can't sell me BS. I know the process, right? You can't take this away from me because I earned it. It's mine. Not only do I know what it takes to get it, but I know what it takes to defend it. I know how to stand 10 toes down. I can give you real life examples of things that I've been through, and I'm just thankful for it. But again, tying it in, it started with me being an Indian. I had to follow. I had to join the Marine Corps and start out as a private, right? Getting humiliated at the lowest level, right? To be able to work myself up and build myself up into the person that I could look in the mirror today and I admire and respect, right? And now I model those same behaviors, what I wish I had as a child and what I know have made me successful as a man. I model those same behaviors to my children. And I get a lot of flack from it. I'm hard, right?
Can I tag in on that?
Go ahead, bro.
Hey, listen, you was cooking, especially when you was talking about the process of vegetation, right? And I want to tie that back into what does it mean to be a part of a C-suite, right? And so for those on the call, the C-suite is the executive suite, right? These are the leaders of an organization. You got your CEO, Chief Executive Officer. You got your COO, Chief Operations Officer. You got your CMO, your Chief Marketing Officer, and you got your CFO. Generally, you're going to see those four, and the CFO is your Chief Financial Officer. While you can say the CEO is like the lead executive, each one of those executives run their own lane. Absolutely. Right? Working together is a whole nother paradigm when we're talking about being a chief and leading, right? So I think that's not stressed enough. We talk about being in charge and following, but we don't talk about simultaneous leadership and what does it mean to be a part of a team leading an organization. And that happens on the business level, and it happens within the household, right? Like, what does it mean to lead the child in the household, right? Being a team. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to agree, but you have to work together and be one force in front of the child. And I had an interesting argument, or it wasn't an argument, it was a conversation I had the other day with a friend. And this is no attack on any of the fathers out there, right? But we have to like have a real honest conversation with ourselves and be held accountable to some degree. And so my perspective, right, is that it doesn't mean you are a failure as a dad, right? But it does mean that if 100% was the goal, at no point in time can you ever operate at 100% if you are not with the woman that you had your child with. You just can't operate at 100. You might be at 99, you might be at 95, but if you are not with the woman that you laid down with to have the child, you can't operate at 100%. It's impossible. And that don't mean you can't be a great dad, right? It's a hard conversation that I think more communities need to have, because before you have the child, you got to look at that woman like, is this somebody I can bring a life in with, but are we prepared to work together to raise this child? And that is a hard conversation, because that means it's growing up on both sides.
For sure. So can I add to that?
Yeah.
So now I want to talk about my situation, right? So my children's mother and I, we got married. I was 22, she was 20, right? Joined the Marine Corps. We got married in 2008. We didn't have our first child, my oldest Amani, until 2011. 2018, we broke up. And we went through this. The breakup wasn't what you would call a clean breakup. It was a lot of pain. It was a lot of struggle. But one thing, so I got mad respect for her, because one thing where we've always agreed, in spite of our own personal emotions, is that we're going to put our best foot forward to make sure that them children are good to go. And it's funny that you talked about percentages, because, I'm a numbers guy. And literally that is the conclusion that I had to come to. I'm like, damn, I really wanted my children to be raised in a 2-parent household. And for a long time, I carried that with me in my spirit. I felt like I had failed them as a parent, as a father. I'd even say that I endured way more than I probably would have done in any other situation had it not have been for my children, right? But because of the love for them and because of my desire to make sure that they grew up whole, because in my pain, I made a promise to myself that my children would never live the way I lived. They'd never experience the pain that I had. Excuse me. So breaking up with their mother, that hurt me. It cut me hard, right? And not even from a romantic perspective, but literally because I knew full well that I could never be the 100% dad that I wanted to be. But one, I'm a Virgo, and two, I'm a Marine, so I'd be damned if you was going to tell me that I was going to fail at this. I tried to turn myself into super dad.
Right.
And when the more I realized that in order for me to be super dad, and to your point, I couldn't be super dad until I really figured out a way to heal and mend this relationship with my children's mother, right? So for a while, we traveled around, being this distant co-parenting thing, and it was not working. And what I found was it was affecting our children because they don't want to be around us together because they could feel the tension. People could feel the tension. And God gave me a word and said that, hey man, listen, you might not be married to that woman in the way that you view it because you are divorced, but you still very responsible to her and them children. And you ain't gonna be in accordance with my will until you start leading your house the right way. And so then I had to take that servant leadership role and humble myself and start saying, all right, well, what do I need to do to be able to make the relationship better? One, I had to apologize, take full accountability. I had to own everything because even you might not feel as a man, it's not your fault. You gotta own it. As a man, you gotta own it. It ain't no, oh, well, if she just did it, that's a crock of shit. If you just, and I can tell you from real life experience, as soon as I took her off the mantle of responsibility and put myself 100% responsible for how our relationship went, how our healing went, how our engagement with our children went. As soon as I stopped placing blame and trying to make it where like, oh, well, she just did this. And I realized that when I came into my own as a man and stood 10 toes as a man, then everything else will fall in. Man, now today, bro, we went through co-parenting therapy, and it was some of the hardest shit I ever done. I ain't gonna hold you, man. Them conversations, the sucking up my pride and ego, the coming to terms with my reality, accepting and seeing things for what it was. It wasn't easy. It was very humbling. But what I do know is that now our engagements, when we talk to each other, when we communicate, when we co-parent with our children, we ain't at 100%, but we ticking, right? Because now we move on one accord, and it didn't happen until I realized my role, my responsibility, and took my accountability for what I needed to do, right? Because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, I knew this was my family to either progress or regress.
Now, here's the funny part. One, you hit on therapy, right? And I think that is a underdeveloped topic in our community. I'm going to call that directly out on the Black community. Like the Black community, we need therapy. Because like whether you think you need it, whether you think people going to think you crazy or not, like therapy is a good thing. I think people need to accept that therapy is a good thing. I think that the outdated mindset of therapy from our community, it gotta go. Right. That's the first thing. But the second thing that I thought was more powerful than anything was when you said I had to accept my responsibility as the man in this relationship. And what a powerful thing to talk about the first story in the Bible. Did we forget about Genesis? Did we? Why do you think that's the first story? Yo,
and it speaks on our nature too. Because what do you say? Well, the wife you gave me, God.
You feel me? Like this is your fault.
Accountability, right? And they labeled it the fall of man. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I have, I have multiple mothers of my children. Over the past 7 years, 8 years since starting the radio station, I've tried to be there, right? Try to be present. But I was somebody different when I made the children, right? I was somebody that threw money at things, right? So everybody wants money. I give time, right? And everybody says if you can't give money, you give time. Yeah, give me my kids. I'll take them full time. You feel me? Like, and when my kids come here, they love being around me. That's the reason why I had to get my own place. I got a divorce from my wife in 2016. And then instantaneously I started the radio station. Right? So it was difficult for me to find a place, right? A place to sit with my children because my oldest children were mad. My youngest children, they weren't mad, but they were daddy. and I was trying to be there. And when I took the job I think that was the happiest 4 years from 2020 to 2024 was the easiest to deal with my children because I had the money to spend, I had the money to give, I had the money to do. But I realized a lot of what Drew was saying was taking that responsibility as a man, right? To be the wind in my kids' life, right? To talk to them, to motivate them, to push them. And I know their mothers do great jobs with all of them, right? And when my kids come around me, they like, Dad, can we come more? Can we be here more? And it's like, absolutely. You feel me? Let's talk to you about it. This summer, they was with me this summer. It was hot in this joint, but they were here, right? And sometimes it's that it's not that I can't do something. I don't have the means to get it done. Because if I had the means to get it done, doing it is easy, right? So it's for me. It's sometimes when we think about men in our community, they don't have the means, right? They don't have the means to get it done. So how do we make sure that the men in our community are able to acquire the means, are able to acquire that money or that thing that they need to do what they want to do, and stop running and running away from responsibility.
Hey, boss. Hey, when you said what you said, I had to sit up because I got a response for it.
Go ahead.
And generally, people don't like it. Triage, right? And then after you triage, sacrifice, right? So one of the things you learn in the military, especially in the officer role, is you're always juggling, right? You're juggling. That's what you're doing. You got like 6, 7 balls and you juggling. Pause. Hey, but you juggling, right? Right? And what you got to realize is you're going to have basketballs and you're going to have glass balls. If the basketball drop, it's going to bounce back up. I can throw it back in rotation, keep going, right? But if the glass drops, I'm cooked. Right. And I think people don't triage well enough to know what glass balls you're juggling at the time that you're in your life. Like that's it. It's triage, right? And so when we talk about do you have a means as a community leader, as a father, as anything, right? It's like, are you triaging your situation? Do you acknowledge what the glass ball is? Because like everything's important. This is a hard conversation. I just had this one the other day with my pastor, right? And I think this is another one that like Black men specifically, we have a hard time acknowledging, right? When you grow up, the number one woman in your life is your mom. Hands down, it's your mom, right? And then you get married, and there is a natural to happen. It's not saying you love your moms any less, right? But in the process of triaging, right? Are you going to let your wife drop? And here's another one. And this is where people get the game messed up. You now have a daughter. So now you got 3 women in your life that matter, right? Do you put the daughter over the wife? Do you keep the mom at number 1? Right? And this is a hard conversation because people are like, yo, that's my daughter. You can't do that to my daughter. My daughter. Who matters more? If you're living biblically, if you are doing what God said to do and ordaining a marriage, you got to triage. And if we talking triage, you got to triage your wife. Because if you are doing what you need to do for your wife, in turn, she's definitely going to do what she needs to do for her daughter. Right? And if that relationship is working in your household, you got all the time you need to go fix the things you got to fix with your mom.
Right. Well, not just that. More than likely, mom got a husband. And eventually, daughter gonna grow up and get a husband. And then who you left with? Your partner.
Your wife.
Your wife.
Which you are her husband.
Right. Right. And that's gonna be the person that you're gonna be there 10 toes down, day in and day out. So, yeah.
Ms. Zulene said mom is always first, right? Her son just got married. Her son just got married.
Ms. Zulene.
And that's a hard pill to swallow, right? For mom. to not come first anymore, right? For mom to be behind your wife. How does that work? How does a man say that to his mom, right? Mom, you're not, because I've seen relationships where the mom still comes first, and it's burdensome on the relationship, right? Because mom is doing extra stuff to show the wife that I come before you. You feel me? That I'm number one, right? And sometimes
That's
that
ego.
ruins the relationship.
Lene Mayfield said, "Why does it always have to be one or the other?" I don't think it has to be one or the other if you are juggling appropriately. But I'm gonna give you a simple scenario. You're driving your car as a male, and you got your woman in the car, and you're gonna go pick up your mom. Now, culture tells us that the front seat matters, right? And so when you're juggling life appropriately and you're doing what you need to do, and there is respect and admonishment on all sides of the accord, your wife can pull up in the front seat. Now, your wife has the option to stay seated because she is your wife, but then she also has the option to say, you know what, I respect who this woman is for providing this man. Even though I acknowledge that my seat is the front, I'm going to give it to his mother because she deserves it. Right. And in that situation, I didn't have to choose. My wife understands who I am as a leader, and she chose for me.
Right.
And I think, again, it's on both sides.
Right. Ms. Lean is right. A secure woman will stay and fall back for her son. And
Absolutely.
you asked one of the questions, how do you have that conversation with your mom? So I think simply put, you say, Mom, listen, you raised me to be the head and the leader of my household. You got to let me do that. I love you. I'm always, I am who I am because of how you raised me. So I think anything could be accomplished with love and conversation.
So it's about how we raise our children that dictates whether they can grow to be Indians that grow to be chiefs.
Absolutely. And even with the triage part, like our brother Nas spoke about, the only way you learn how to triage is by being in them trenches juggling. So even more to the point where you gotta be that Indian before you could ever be that chief. But I do agree that in most situations, once you become a chief, you got to know how to toggle back and forth to be whatever you need to be in that moment. Because that's real, true transformational leadership.
Absolutely. Man, I think we touched on some good stuff tonight, y'all. Man, I always appreciate talking to y'all brothers, man. Anything we want to say before we get up out of here?
Hey, you know my slogan, man. Listen, you want to talk real estate? You ain't talk tonight. You want to talk real estate? Hit me up. Homes with Nasir. Follow me on Instagram. Go to my website, homeswithnasir.net. And let's build together.
Yes, sir. In a way, we did talk real estate because you can't build the community without building it. Or you can't build the village without building the villagers. You know what I mean?
Fair point. Fair
It
point.
all ties in.
So, thank you for tuning in, man. This is Culture Uncut. Yes, we have to go because my man Nasir got to get up early. He got to go to work. You feel me? I don't want him to dry out anymore. We got to figure out a different time to do this, a time that allows us to do an hour and a half show. But I want to give Nasir his due rest, man. He deserves it. Brother working.
Yes, sir.
Brother really working. So appreciate y'all, man. Listen, you can catch the whole episode. Y'all can watch it back. It's on cmpradio.net. And yeah, thank y'all. He said, Lord, I want to talk real estate with no money. LOL.
We can do that.
Right. Real estate with no money. How you do real estate with no money?
There's programs out there. Now, no money is tough, but a little bit of money, we can make something shake.
Right. But your credit score got to be high, right?
We can make something shake.
All right, we can see. You say we can make something shake. We should have been made something shake. Anyway, cmpradio.net, man. This is Culture Uncut, man. I want y'all to have a great day on purpose. You already know how we do. And yeah, man. That's the show. Peace.
Peace.